Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and today I'll be showing you how to make this hand stitched coaster. It's really nice and festive. Mine's for a swap that I'm involved in on Instagram. So if you're interested in learning how to make this English paper pieced coaster with some hand stitching, then do stay tuned. Also, during the video I will be discussing my giveaway with you because I've reached a milestone number of subscribers, and I just wanted to thank everyone for getting me to that, and also for all your wonderful comments and support that you've been giving me recently. So if you're interested in either of those things, then do stay tuned. So the fabric that I've chosen today, this is going to be for my background and for the reverse of the coaster. This is Moda Grunge and it's in, I think, the colourway Vanilla. I've got some scraps. This will be for my binding. This is a Liberty that I bought. I think I've already cut into this and folded it back up from memory. And then my trusty strips that I'm always using. I get these from the Festival of Quilts from the cotton patch. They're £2.50, but I don't think they sell them online. It's just a festival special. So I've selected what I believe to be enough. So I'm going to go with 2 different colours. So I've selected some strips there. And the first thing that we're going to do is cut out our pattern templates. So like I said, this is a free download on Emma Jones's website, which is the Vintage Sewing Box. I'll leave a link for it in the description box below. I've printed this onto 180 GSM cardstock. You can use any cardstock that you've got available, just don't have it too thin would be my advice. And we're actually going to cut these out by hand. They are designed to be cut out by hand. They're quite small though, especially those bottom arches, so we'll go as accurately as we can. I'm not using fabric scissors here, I'm just using my kitchen scissors, which are quite sharp. So I'm just going around, moving the paper rather than the scissors, because that always gives you a more accurate cut. I'm not going to worry about doing that rounded piece. I'm just going to cut it straight because the middle will be covered by an applique circle, so that won't be as visible. So that's all our pieces cut out, and what we need to do, if you're doing alternating colours like I have, you need to decide, do you want your bold colour on the points or do you want your bold colour on the curves? I think I want my bold colour on the points. Yeah, I think I'll go for that. So I'm going to leave that there as reference as to what it will look like. So what we're going to do now is just start basting. I just use Alma's glue. It's a washable purple glue. It dries clear, and yeah, it's what I find works. Nice and affordable. So I think I'll only manage to get 2 per strip. So I usually glue them all onto the strips first, like so. Just a little bit of glue. And then we're just going to repeat that process with your opposite colour. And then what we're going to do from here is roughly cut around the shape. Might have basted them a touch too close together. If you've got excess, then by all means use up the excess. You know, you could easily move that up and you'd have a bit more room in between. Don't go too crazy with it being neat. What I will do there is, because this area is quite thin, I'll just cut any excess off. Scraps like this I save for my scrap hexagon quilt, so I'll put that to a side, but obviously those tiny pieces I don't keep. So then all we're going to do is, I'll move you again a little bit closer. I like to add my glue directly to the fabric. Some people prefer to do it on the card. I just do it on the fabric. And with these, it's important that you always start at the same point and work around in the same direction. So here I'm going to go anti-clockwise. So glue on the fabric, and then all we're going to do is press it round, kind of making a pleat as you go and getting it as tight to that curve as you can. If you turn it over, you can see that's quite neat. Once you applique it, that little point will come away. Now you're just going to repeat that same process for all of the other curved ones. So once you've done that with all your curve shapes, you can move on to the triangle shapes. And again, with these, you just have to be careful with the dog ears that triangles can create. So I'll show you those. Again, start in the same direction. As you can see, some of these like bottoms have started to unfold, but it doesn't matter too much. We're going to give them a press once they're sewn together. So as you can see, that has created this dog ear at the top. Sorry, I've got glue on my hands. So when we come to applique it, we're just going to tuck it inside. You don't cut it off because you can cause issues, but just make sure that they're all on the same side, and you'll get that by making sure you baste everything in the same direction. So just check your pieces, they'll go like that, and that's how it's going to look. Okay, so the first thing that we'll do to sew them together, choose your two pieces, and when you're lining them up, you want to line them up so that the tips here match. You don't need to worry about this bottom because that's going to be covered. So don't line your pieces up at the bottom. Sorry, I'm trying to look through the camera, but it's not working, because you might end up mismatched at the top, and the top is what you'll see. So you want to match and start sewing ideally at the top. So fold them right sides together. And what I like to do is use one of these clips just to hold it, and it stops the pressure on your fingers as much. You could choose, I've just chose a off-whitey colour, a very light cream colour thread. And if you know how to do EPP, this will be quite straightforward for you. You're just going to go down all of these seams. I'll move you closer. All I'm going to do on the last stitch on every one is do a knot. So I go around like that, hold that knot. I think this is called a knicker knot or something. Take that round the opposite way. It's by a lady called Sue Daly. She teaches it, but I find the type of knot where you pass it through the loop, that can come undone. I'm going to cut every one. Usually I would travel and not cut the thread. Oh well, so there we go. So we've got small stitches visible. You can choose, if you didn't have such a high contrast, you might choose like a red or a pink thread for this, but I don't mind seeing the stitches, and we're just going to repeat that. So this one, you can see is way off. If we match that at the bottom, the points would be way off at the top. It's probably just the way I've cut them, the way I've basted them, because I had trouble basting at the edge, but don't worry about that here. It's all going to be covered. You want to focus here. So I just wanted to show you that you might be concerned and think that they don't fit together. because just a small amount there when they lay like this, but you just push them together and it will cause it to, you know, not be 100% flat. But once you take the papers out and iron it, you don't need to worry about that. So we're at the last piece now. And we just repeat the exact same process. Oh, I've got a knot in the wrong end of my thread. We just repeat the exact same process and get that all finished. Now the next step is you want to give your piece a really good press. So I've got my iron on. I don't have any steam at this point. If you have or you wanted to, you can put some spray starch on before ironing. I would do that, but I can't seem to find my bottle of spray starch. So we'll make do without. So we're just going to give it a really good press. And this is just to keep those edges, because we are going to take out the papers. I think that should just about do us. I'm not going to unplug the iron. I'll leave it there just on because I will iron it again in a second. I like to remove my papers with a very small crochet hook. This is a 0.75 mil, and I like that it's ergonomic. It's got a nice grip. I used to use like a wide needle, like a cross stitch needle, but I just found it hurt my hands. So I just put it underneath I'm driving it with the blunt end rather than the hook end. So we're just going around. And then what I do is when I've loosened it, I hook it underneath, run across the glue that I've used to hold it. Oh, I've ripped the paper. It looks like it's still glued down the bottom. There we go. And just use this just to tease out any area that's glued. If you want to, you can press it again as you go along, but that looks like it's holding quite well. So I'll just show you again once more and then I'll skip the process of the rest. So I'm just digging my hook in there. I'm not ungluing this dog ear here. I'm going actually underneath that, because if you can keep all of that glued together, then that will make it easier and the seams will actually hold together. There we go. And then flip it back and hook underneath. Clean out anything underneath, and there you go. This can happen sometimes. Your hook can actually go through, so it might be worth slightly bigger hook size. Oh, I've ripped the paper again. So there we go, that's what mine looks like with everything removed. I'm going to flip it over and actually iron it from the front for the first time. Well, the first time pressing it without the papers, so just make sure everything's in correctly. Do the same from the back. And there you go. So the next step is to add the circle in the middle. This is the pattern piece that comes with the pattern, and obviously it fits over perfectly. I'm going to do my centre, I think. I'm just going to match that up in the centre. Yeah, I think I'll make my centre the bold. Oh, I don't know. It makes the one more prominent than the other, doesn't it? So it really makes that pop. I think I'll go with the bold because that was my idea. In the video, Emma's got a video on her website with this pattern, and she shows to sort of do a running stitch and pull this around. You can have a look on her website, it's along with the pattern, but I'm going to do needle turn applique. Is draw around here, and hopefully this red pen will be visible on this red fabric. sorry, I was out of frame a little bit there. All I'm doing is draw around this. If you've got a black pen, a black friction pen, that's better, I think. And all we're going to do is a rough circle around that. What I'm going to do is, just to help this stick, is go around the edges of this, go around the edges of the Dresden with some glue. Like that. And we'll try our hardest to sort of position this where we think it's going to be centered. That's the problem with doing it this way, I guess. Emma's method might be a little bit better for getting it centered. Shall we just take a leap of faith and hope that that's centered? So what we're going to do now is needle turn applique that on. So I'll show you how to do that. A smaller seam allowance might be more helpful, but all you're going to do is turn it underneath and stitch along that line. I like to come from the back on my first stitch so that the knot is completely hidden in the back, and all you're going to do is just an applique stitch all the way around. All you do is you use your needle to turn the fabric in. Just going to trim this a little bit more here, just to make it easier. You still want about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance with needle turn applique, but normally you would put your piece of glue in the middle of the shape, but there's nothing in the middle, you know, there's nothing to glue it to, is there, here? So it could have been easier to do this when it was attached to my backing fabric. So I've just took my last stitch and the thread is currently coming out of the centre circle, so all I'll do is I'll just pass my knot all the way through to the back and tie that off. And I am going to put my iron back on and give that an iron just to remove the tiny red mark that is there. It's not visible to the naked eye. It was very hard to stitch, that was, so don't be like me and have a black pen. So that's all ironed and the red mark is removed. Looks like I've got a point there, but what I'll do is when I applique here, can you see it's quite pointed? I'll make sure that when I applique I'm actually pulling in a little bit with that. So we should be able to fix that and it gets a lot smoother, if I'm honest. So now we're moving on to actually constructing the back of our coaster. So I've got a 5-inch square here of my backing fabric, which I said earlier was the Mode de Grunge. And all I'm going to do is figure out what type of orientation I want. So do I want the points going upwards or do I want them coming to the side? Yeah. And all we're going to do is, again, just use our glue stick. We're going to be quite liberal because you need this to hold in place. So I'm just putting a blob of glue everywhere. You can also use temporary spray adhesive as well for this instead of the Pritt stick. It's got very warm and gloopy, the glue has, but I find that the Alma's glue doesn't get as bad as the Soline glue. So there we go, just give it all a press down so that it sticks. And you can also put some pins in at this point. I'll put some pins just to hold it. And what we'll do is we'll do an applique stitch around. So again, we'll get a threaded needle. I'm not going to start right in the corner, but I'm going to come up. Let me zoom you in. I've come up right on the edge. and this is called an applique stitch. Again, try and just use, you know, a coordinating thread if you have one, and we're going to go right to the point. Okay, and let's show you how to deal with this dog ear. You just go into, similar to what you did with the needle turn, push it underneath. If you want to, we're working with quite a small area. I am only going to trim off the tiniest bit. You're not cutting the whole thing off. You're just trimming a tiny bit off just to make it easier to get under. That's probably frowned upon, but there we go. My needle is so small, I'm using these tiny small needles. It doesn't seem to have any grip. Right, so there we go. It's all underneath and I'm holding it in place with my fingernail. You're going to do one more in the top just to sort of do a little bit of a lock. Pull it tight, make sure you're pushing any frays underneath, and then just do the same. I'm sorry that I couldn't do this in, you know, a contrasting thread, because this is actually something that I'm entering into a swap that's on Instagram, so I don't want to ruin it with a different colour thread. Again, right into the corner, and I'll show you how to do the curve, and then I'll meet you back at the beginning. What I find with the curves is, even if you're not quite curvy, you've got points, as long as they're not too bad. As soon as you get the applique round, it really does smooth out any points. So there's not too much that you need to do special on the curves. Just by simply doing this, kind of smooths out the edges. See, I'm coming up to a slight point here where I've got my needle. That's a little bit of a point. And you'll see that it will just smooth out. If you've got a point that you're uncomfortable with, if you've got a point that you're uncomfortable with, do what we just did and try and push it underneath with the tip or the side of your needle. And that will just smooth it out. Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll continue with this and I'll meet you back once we've appliqued the whole thing down. So just very quickly then, while I'm stitching away on this, I wanted to discuss the giveaway with you that I'm doing. And the giveaway really is just to thank everyone for everyone's support with my channel over the last couple of months. A lot of you are new viewers and I really appreciate that. A lot of you have been here since I've sort of changed the direction of my channel from paper crafting to more quilting, so I really appreciate that. And I wanted to say thank you for being so wonderful in the comments to me. You have really motivated me. Every lovely comment that people leave on my channel. I wanted to show you my gratitude and say a big thank you for reaching and now surpassing 15,000 subscribers. So I will put on the screen the rules to the giveaway, but I will just very quickly go over them. But if there's something that I don't discuss and it's written on the screen, that's because I've forgotten to mention it. So first of all, there is a prize, and I think it is a very lovely prize, but I wanted to give everyone the option to have what they wanted, because I don't think everyone quilts that watches me. Some people are new, some people, you know, you're just thinking about getting into quilting, and yeah. So what the giveaway prize is a £30 gift voucher to any independent craft store. So it can't be to any chains like Hobbycraft, Joann's, Michael's, whatever the chain stores are. I really want to use this to support small and independent businesses. Okay, so you can enter from anywhere in the world and I will email you a gift card to the value of 30 Great British pounds. I'll convert that to your currency and then you can use that to purchase whatever you wish. I would love to hear what you end up purchasing. I always want to connect with you all on Instagram. Okay, so to enter this giveaway, you must be over the age of 18. You can live anywhere in the world, and all you need to do is be subscribed to this channel and leave a comment on this video. That's how I will draw the winners to the giveaway. You don't have to mention anything in particular in the comments, just leave a nice comment. Perhaps tell me about your day, tell me what you're working on, if you intend to try a coaster like I'm doing, anything that you want to talk about. Now, I do usually try and reply to all of the comments on my videos, but on this particular video I won't be replying, just because I don't want to then be classed as someone who's commenting on the videos. So what I'll do is I will give your video a heart, your comment a heart, just so you know that I've read the comment. Okay. Ordinarily, I do try and put the time aside to reply to all of the comments, which is why I love the comments. I love, you know, connecting with you all and becoming quilty friends, because we are all quilty friends here. So, yeah, over the age of 18, live anywhere in the world, and you just need to subscribe and comment on this video. Only one comment will count. So if you comment multiple times, you will only have one entry. Okay, and the giveaway will close on the last day of September. Is that the 30th? Let's say the 30th of September 2023, and I will then reply to your comment and either try and find you on Instagram, or I'll reply to your comment and tell you that you've won. And I will also announce the winner in the video that follows on the 30th. If that person doesn't get in touch with me within a week, I'll draw a new winner. Okay. I won't message you, I won't contact you to ask you to pay me, nothing like that. I know that there's a lot of scams that go around with giveaways. I will not contact you and ask you for any payment, nothing like that. So please just be vigilant that anyone doing so could just be a scammer. So all I've done here, now that's all appliqued on, is I've just made a quilt sandwich with just some cotton and polyester wadding and the backing fabric of your choice. I have chose to leave my wadding a little bit wider because I like to have my binding to be quite full. You can always trim it down before you applique stitch it over. So we're going to add a little bit of quilting now. This step is optional, but I think it will give it a really nice squishy feel. All I've got is 2 strands of embroidery thread. I've put a knot on the end, and we're going to go ahead and quilt this. So I'm going to go between the 2 layers, and so that will hide the knot, and I'll just bring my thread up and we'll just quilt. This is marked out with the what do you call it, the friction pen. I do need my thimble for this. I have also got my thinner. The matches the background, because I don't want to accentuate quilting too much just with the texture. You can choose to use something that matches or something that totally gives off. Just because I'm not 100% confident on my quilting, look at the moment, so let's enjoy something I'm not using maybe better. I'm not too bold, but I like actually raising the profile of the extended. So I'll be back at the end. So that's that all quilted now, and look how lovely and squishy that makes it. Really adds a really nice 3-dimension to the coaster. It'd be a shame to put your cup on it, wouldn't it? And that's the reverse. So I've got the iron on now, and shall we watch the lines disappear? Oh, it's like magic, isn't it? Before this friction pen, I've only used water-soluble pens, so this is the first proper day that I've been using the friction pens. I love that. There's a little bit of purple there. Let me see what that is. I think that's a little bit of glue, because I used the glue to baste the quilt. So all that's left to do now is to add the binding, and I have already cut the binding, so I'm going to iron it now. It looks a slightly different colour. Well, it's a different fabric, but I'm hoping that it will just complement quite nicely, add a little bit of interest to the edge. So this is a 2-inch binding, so I'm going to fold it in half, and I will sew it on by machine with 1/4-inch seam on the front, and then hand applique it with a seam on the back. So I will machine sew it off camera. You probably all know how to do that, and if you don't, there are plenty of videos online how to attach binding to a quilt, which essentially this is a tiny quilt, and I'll show you back here for doing the stitching. So what we've got now is the binding sewn on. Because I've only used 1-inch binding, this needs cutting back, but like I said, I always like to have a little bit more so that the binding is nice and full. But what I'm actually going to do is cut it back to the edge of the binding. So I'll just do that with fabric scissors. And that, oh, we're still a little bit shy, so we do probably need to take a bit off, but let me just check all around. Yeah, so I'll probably need to trim just a hairline off, because what we want to do is we want that binding to go over and actually cover the stitch line. So I'm just going to take a small bite all around. I just took a small amount off all the edges, and that folds much easier. Okay, so all you have to do now is you just fold these edges back. You can iron it, but I always iron it afterwards, and you use some clips, clip it around, and you just do the same applique stitch that we used to attach the EPP. So you just applique all along the back, and that will be your coaster then finished. And we've got some lovely mitered corners, and all you'll do is when you get to those on the back, you just again miter them on the back so that they'll look a neater version of that. I'll perfect it when I get there. There we go. So I hope you have all enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you found it quite helpful if you want to make something. It looks very Christmassy there, doesn't it? And I do wish you the best of luck with the giveaway. I look forward to hearing from you all. Bye.